the soul is the soul. It evolves, but it's our evolution and my evolution that I focus on. But yes, the soul is that part of us that existed before we were born and will continue to exist after we die. It's that part of us that is immortal. And it's that part of us that has the intentions of harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life.
Yes.
The soul is your mothership. So when you're sailing in the same direction that it wants to go, your life fills with meaning and purpose. And when you sail in another direction, it empties of meaning and purpose. You could look at it this way. You are a personality. That means you were born on a certain day and you'll die on a certain day. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But your soul won't die. Your soul is you also. We're on a journey to the soul, you could put it that way, while we're here in this span between birth and death. Think of yourself as a body in a soul. And while we have this precious opportunity to walk on the earth, the question becomes, what will we do with this personality? What will you do with you? Now here we can define you in a couple of ways. One is you with a little y, the personality that was born and that will die. The other you is the you with a big Y. That's your soul. And if you use your time while you're on the earth to align the little you with the big you, your life begins to fill with meaning, fill with purpose, fill with joy. And you know why you're alive. Following what you know your soul wants you to do. There's been a huge change in human consciousness that has occurred. And its ramifications are going to be felt, and the experience of it is going to be felt by everyone.
You think so?
Yes, I do. What I'm talking about is this. I'm talking about an expansion of your perception beyond the five senses, beyond what you can see and taste and touch and hear and smell. As people become multisensory, they begin to become aware, to sense in some way that there is a big Y.
A big Y.
A big Y, a mothership, something that is meaningful. And millions of us are acquiring that sense that life has a meaning, that I have a purpose, that I am more than this mind and body. I'm more than molecules and dendrites and neurons and enzymes. I have a part of me that is immortal. Now the question becomes, what now? Multisensory perception does not make us more kind or patient or caring or less angry. It makes us more aware. And when you get that sense, the spiritual work begins.
Yes.
Because how do you do that? Well, the answer is elegantly simple. You find the parts of your personality that don't want those things. You become very familiar with them so that you can recognize them when they come up in you, and you don't act on them. And you find the parts of your personality that do want those things, and you recognize them, and you become very familiar with them, and when they come up in you, you act on them. And that's how you create authentic power. Creating authentic power is developing the ability to distinguish between love and fear within yourself, and then choosing love, no matter what is happening inside of you or what is happening outside of you.
Yeah.
Let's look at the time between your birth and the time of your death as a learning experience. Call it the Earth School.
Yeah.
Is a real-time, multimedia, surround sound, full color, cast of billions, learning environment that always provides you with every interaction in every circumstance, opportunities that are perfect for your spiritual growth, given the wisdom of the choices that you've made.
Right.
But it's not as though it's predestined.
Right.
It's not as though it's written.
Right, you're ordering it.
You make choices.
Yes, yes.
And every choice you make creates consequence. So when you make that choice consciously, you create your future consciously. And if you're willing to encounter those consequences now, it won't come as a painful surprise to you
That's
when
right.
you encounter them.
That's right.
Entertain considering the possibility that you are a powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirit. Now that may seem a lot, but try that on for size. And if you find that it doesn't fit, if you find that there's a distance between who you think you are, and what you say and what you do and the way that you behave, and a powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirit, then also consider that that distance is the distance that you have to travel. Mm-hmm. That is your spiritual path. Mm-hmm. That's your curriculum in the Earth School. So how do you make that journey between what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're thinking now, and what those things would be if you were fully operating as what you are, a powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirit. An intention is a quality of consciousness that you bring to a deed or words.
Mm-hmm. It's an energy?
It's an energy.
It's an energy.
It's an energy.
So it's a quality of consciousness. Got it.
It's your reason for
It's your
speaking.
reason.
It's your motivation.
Motivation, yes.
So the real motivation is the one that creates consequences. For example, when someone says, I want a bigger home, it could be because I want to impress the neighbors, or it could be because we've adopted 4 children and I want to give them more space. Mm-hmm. So it's the why beneath the why.
Mm-hmm. The why beneath the why.
You might say that the first intention, like I want to get another job so that I can have more money, this could be called an out-tention, mm-hmm. because it's really what you want to do to change things in the world. But your intention is the bedrock bottom. This is it, real intention. I want to support my wife. She needs some support now. I want to send my children to college. I want to have room for my newly adopted children. A personality has a lot of different aspects or parts. For example, some parts of your personality are angry, jealous, vengeful, feel superior and entitled, feel inferior and need to please, can't stop smoking, drinking, watching pornography. Addicted, compulsive, can't stop working, mm-hmm. Obsessive, can't stop thinking, I've got to have her. Oh, he's so great. Mm-hmm. Or I'm so stupid, or she's so stupid, and the thoughts keep going. All of those things you can put into one basket, and here's why. Because they have a couple of things in common. Number one, they hurt when you really experience them. Compulsive, addictive, obsessive, painful action or word is an attempt in that moment to mask that pain.
The real pain.
The real pain. Let's go back to those feelings, because this is really interesting.
Yes.
The first thing that they have in common is they hurt.
Yes.
The second thing they have in common is that when you act on them, they create painful consequences, destructive consequences.
Right.
So we can put all of those
yes.
parts of your personality that share those two things into this basket, and we'll give it a generic name. We'll write on the side, fear. Now there's other parts of your personality. For example, the part that's grateful, the part that's content, mm-hmm. the part that's appreciative, mm-hmm. patient, caring, in mm-hmm. awe of the universe. Mm-hmm. These parts of your personality also share two things. Number one, they feel good.
Yes. I feel great. Yes. What?
Now there's a difference between that feeling of and the feeling of I got my Mercedes. Yes. That mm-hmm. is happiness.
Yes.
That's not joy.
Yeah.
We're talking about something else.
Yes.
That is an experience in the fear basket, because when you get something that a frightened part of your personality wants,
yes.
a fear-based part, it makes you ecstatic or happy temporarily. So we're not talking about magnitude on a material level. We're talking mm-hmm. about intention, energy, attachment. We're talking about fear, parts of your personality that originate in fear, that reach outward to change the physical world in order to mask the pain. And I'll tell you what that pain is if you'd like to know.
Yes, I do want to know.
It's the pain of powerlessness. The pain of powerlessness. And you can go right down to the very root of the pain of powerlessness.
And that is?
Feeling unlovable. Feeling as though you want to belong and you don't belong. Feeling as though
you're not worthy.
You're not worthy. Feeling as though you want to love but you can't love. It's the feeling that you're intrinsically flawed. That you're fundamentally defective. That if people could see you the way you really are, they wouldn't want to have anything to do with you. That's the pain of powerlessness, and everybody has it. Everybody who's human. Now, for millennia, we have addressed the pain of powerlessness just as we've been talking about, by reaching outward to change the physical world. You get a trophy husband, a trophy wife. You get a mountain bike that's better than anyone else's. Your dreadlocks are cooler than anyone else's in the world. Your sandals are the best. So these parts of your personality that come from fear, always in the past, you can still mask them temporarily by striving to change people around you. That's the pursuit of external power, by the way, the ability to manipulate and to control.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. Choice of intention is the fundamental creative act. I ask everyone to consider that they are powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirits. So you are co-creating your life with the universe, and your part is the choice of intention.
Yes.
So that when you become an aware creator, you do not become a more powerful creator. You become more able to use your creative capacity in a loving way. So when you're not aware of what your intention is, for example, in that moment when someone gets angry or jealous, in that moment when someone goes to the refrigerator and eats a quart of chocolate chip ice cream they don't need, when you're not aware of your intention, you're creating with fear. You're a powerful creator. When you are aware of your intention, then you can choose whether you want to create with an energy of fear, with an intention of fear, or with an intention of love. It is to allow us to learn through our own experiences how powerful we are as creators and how responsible we are for what we create. So treat other people the way you'd like them to treat you, because they will. That's the short of it.
Yes.
Give to the world what you want to receive from the world, because you will receive that. You may betray someone who put all their trust in you, and then later in your life or longer, you will find yourself betrayed in another way, and it will hurt as much. So, once you know that, then you can begin to look at your experiences less personally. You don't have to take them so personally. If someone betrays you, the first thing you can understand is there's a factor of karma involved. The other thing that you can understand is that the person who is acting in that way is acting from a frightened part of his personality. He or she is in pain. That is karma. You don't have to take on the role of judge and jury.
Yes.
And if you do, it will create
negative
karma for yourself.
Always.
Always.
Yes.
And the reason is that, what other way could you learn that would create changes in you so permanent, so deep, so constructive as through your own experience encountering the consequences of your own choices, until finally you stop trying to use other people, you stop trying to blame other people, you stop shaking your fist and railing against the universe, you stop curling up in a ball and wanting to die, you stop trying to impress everyone, you stop everything. Why not begin to create authentic power? And when you do, when you keep following that path, it will eventually, as the saying goes, bring you to your knees. And then you are open. Then you are open for the first time, because everything else you've tried hasn't worked, and you know it's not going to. The painkillers, the drugs, the wealth, doesn't matter. That point comes when you open yourself, and when you do, then change is possible. But that's not the kind of change you can learn from a sermon. That's change that transforms and rearranges you and In the process, everything that was based in fear falls away. In my experience, it's very painful to be aware of the sensations that are behind the impulse to shout, the impulse to be right, to win a power struggle.
That's right.
But as painful as they are, I've come to see that it's not as painful as the consequences that I have created, is understanding that when you feel emotional pain,
Yes.
at first it seems as though something or someone else caused that pain.
Yes.
But as you develop emotional awareness, you'll discover that your pain was not caused by someone else. Someone else triggered a dynamic in you that is painful to experience. And when you divert your attention to changing the trigger, you may or may not gain some satisfaction. Looking at the parts of your personality that originate in fear, such as jealousy and anger and rage and those kind of painful experiences that are destructive, the more you don't act on them, the more you challenge them by not acting on them, the more they lose their control over you. The universe doesn't look in terms of good, bad, better, worse, success, failure. It looks in terms of limitation and opportunity. The more the loving parts of your personality are the ones you're cultivating, the more opportunity you have.
Absolutely.
The more fear is controlling you, the more contracted and the more limitation you have. You are a powerful and creative, compassionate and loving spirit. And the more you cultivate a loving part of your personality, the more it begins to fill your experience in your field of awareness until that's all that is. So creating authentic power is a process. It's not an event. It's done decision by decision, step by step, choice by choice. The point is to contribute what you can to life, because that's the nature of love. And love doesn't require that it be acknowledged. Doesn't require that it even be effective. When the sun shines on you, it doesn't say, how'd I do today? You appreciating me yet? I can do better tomorrow.
Yeah.
It just shines. And that's where the joy in life comes from. And to create that place is our evolutionary requirement now. That's creating authentic power. That's what requires becoming aware of every part of our personality and not acting on those that control us compulsively, unconsciously, and acting on those that we know are aligned with our soul. That's why the choice of intention is the fundamental creative act. The choice of intention is the choice that brings energy into form. That creates matter, that creates consequences.
I knew it was the most important one.
The soul is that part of you that existed before you were born and that will exist after you die. It's the highest, most noble part of yourself that you can reach for. Dimension and weight and volume are characteristics of the Earth School, this domain of time and space and matter and duality. But all souls have the capacity to be great souls. And your job and my job while we are in the Earth School is to align our personalities with our souls. And we do that by becoming the personality that has the same intentions of the soul, harmony and cooperation and sharing and reverence for life.
What is your definition of God?
I don't have a definition of God because I've never really understood that word. People have different understandings of it, and it's caused a great deal of conflict. I do know that the universe is sacred and that it's holy. As a substitute, I sometimes use the word divine intelligence. If I had to say what would my definition of God be, if I were going to use that word, I would say that this universe has layers upon layers upon layers of compassion and wisdom beyond ours that we might think of as God.
What do you think happens when we die?
We go home. You return to where you came from, which is non-physical reality. And as we become multi-sensory, which means while we are walking on the earth, we begin to experience ourselves not only as personalities, as bodies and minds, we begin to experience or sense somehow that we are more than that. We sort of have a dual identity, and our gratification and our fulfillment comes in aligning ourselves with the big identity. And we can see that and experience it because we're becoming multisensory.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows us to at least entertain the idea that the major part of who we are exists in non-physical reality.
Do we drop the body and the soul rises?
The soul doesn't sink or rise, it's always there. And the body, the personality, your intuitional structure, all the things that a psychologist calls a personality, affect, perception, cognition, all of those return to the earth. That dies. Your soul doesn't die. But while we're here, the goal and the purpose of being here is to align our personalities with our souls.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, the intentions of the soul flow through you like the breath of a musician through a flute.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, you cannot tell in such a person where the personality ends and the soul begins.
Right.
As you look at your experiences and use them to create authentic power, everyone will experience their soul. When you go home, when your personality dies, you will experience the fullness of who you are.